I think I'm going to call this one age versus availability. Age versus availability. Let me get into this a little bit because it came to my mind this morning in regards to my own situation. I'm at a place now where I am changing the way I earn my income. I am looking at, or in the midst of obtaining, multiple streams of income in ways of which I was not taught to do so. In other words, the hustle is becoming more real. The hustle is becoming more modern, so to speak. And that means your time is going to be allocated differently. Now, a lot of us were raised up a certain way where you go to school, you get a degree or a diploma, and then you go to work for somebody for so many hours a day, get paid, and that's it. But see, things have happened in the past few years that kind of messed that up a little bit, especially if there was a lockdown and you couldn't do that. You couldn't go to that place and make that money every single day. And that changed the mindset of a lot of people once things blew over. They had to find other ways in order to maintain. They had to find other ways of how to allocate their money when they couldn't go and hit that time clock. But they knew they had to do something. There are a lot of people right now that were programmed that way to hit somebody else's time clock, and when they couldn't, they either had to do one or two things. They either had to learn how to hustle and figure it out, go into business for themselves maybe, or learn how to work from home, or some people didn't make it at all and they literally took themselves out because they didn't know any other way. But as I stated in a previous audio before, that some of us are conditioned by this so-called society that when we reach a certain age, we should have certain things, and if we don't, we're not accepted in certain societies. We're not accepted in certain cultures. Now, don't get me wrong. Biology is going to do what it's going to do. The human body is going to go through its phases at certain ages. But see, there's a difference between your biology and your mental sometimes. And when it comes to dealing with goals and accomplishing things, your mental may not be ready at 25 years old to do what your Creator has designed for you to do. You may not be in the headspace that you need to be in order to accomplish what you need to accomplish at 35 years old because your head is not in it. You could be in a situation that you don't need to be in at 35. You could be involved with a person you don't need to be involved with at 40 years old, and your headspace is not prepared to take on the responsibility of the purpose that your Creator has given you. But see, society doesn't tell you that. So a lot of people get hung up in their head once they reach a certain age. If they haven't accomplished certain things, they will literally lose their mind. Don't know how to deal with themselves. And then there are some people, may not be that extreme. They probably just never took the time to find out where they're supposed to go and who they are. And they don't realize it until something happens in their life that makes them think, excuse me, I'm just waking up. That makes them think about where they're supposed to be spiritually and mentally in their life. And sometimes that doesn't happen until they're 40, 50, 60 years old. So the problem comes in is where people who used to be a part of your former life, who are connected with you, who saw you come up, they're used to you being a certain way, used to you having a certain type of communication, used to you being available for certain situations all the time. And when you change your mindset and your spirituality to focus more on your purpose that your Creator has given you, you're not available anymore. In a lot of cultures, they feel that once you reach a certain age, that you should be more available to people because you don't work as much. Or maybe you do work a lot, but you work differently. They're assuming because you're over 50 years old, over 60 years old, that just because you're older and that you may have a few dollars set aside, all of a sudden you're supposed to be available for every single little thing that happens. This includes family members in particular and some friends. Oh, you worked all your life and you got a few dollars set aside, you're okay, you should be available for what I'm going through. When the truth is you're not. Now, there could be a couple of reasons for this. First of all, you may not be available because of the new thing that you're involved in does not allow you as much free time that is required by these friends and family who took advantage of your availability before. Or there could be just some negative feelings where you just don't give a damn because you gave of yourself before and were available and it wasn't appreciated. Those are the two main reasons. So don't just assume just because somebody is settled somewhere and they're taking care of themselves and they have $1 or $2 set aside, just because they're getting older, you just want to assume that you can pick up the phone and you could just call them and just ask for their time and their attention to things because they may not have it for you. They may not have it for you at all. And this is what I'm talking about, age versus availability. You know, there's a lot of things in this culture that have a lot of flaws. And the minute that you say you don't have time for anything, then you're referred to as a cranky old lady or a cranky old man, whatever the case may be. But see, the good part about being older is that you've already heard the criticisms and you really don't give a damn. I've come across this in my life. There were times in my life where I was available for people, but my presence was not required or needed. But nowadays, things are different. See, sometimes when a person's time and availability is being taken advantage of, what they'll do is they'll rechannel that energy toward other things. That's all. Things that they know that they can receive a bounty from. Things that they know that will result in something positive. They're not going to waste their time anymore. So just because somebody is older and they may be settled, don't assume in your mind that that person's available for every single little bullshit thing that you go through, because they're not. They don't have time anymore. They're not just some person sitting up in the house just waiting for somebody to call their phone, waiting for somebody to pick them up, waiting for somebody to visit them. And some of you have family members right now who are conditioned to believe, oh, well, I'm 70 years old and I got a few aches and pains, and I got this retirement check coming in every single month. Let me just sit home and be here and wait on people to come to me with their problems. That'll be my purpose in life. For some of you, you're happy with that. If you are, this message is not for you. But the majority of us, we don't want that all the time. There are a lot of us that are getting involved in other things. It could be another income venture. It could be another social venture. It could be something that involves my time. I'm using it differently. So just because I'm not working 40 hours a week, hitting it 40, 50, 60 hours a week like I did 20, 30 years before, don't assume that I have that extra time to cater to your bullshit problems, because I don't. Especially if it was a situation in the past where you didn't cater to mine. I have rechanneled my energy in other directions. And if that is offensive to some people, it's just going to have to be offensive. And one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to stress out over somebody else's problems when they didn't stress out for mine. You got to be careful, people, when you're dealing with folks sometimes. You don't know what's going through their head once you decide to switch up on them. See, in my case, as well as a lot of cases of other people, I got to a point in my life I realized I had to switch up my mentality when it came to certain relationships, and that I had to switch up the way I live my life in order to survive. I had to do it in order to live here on this earth. Or else I'll wind up having another breakdown again and heading back in that negative headspace again and not make it. So don't assume just because somebody's a certain age and they're in a certain position that they're all of a sudden they have all this time for every single little nitpicky thing that you know that you should take time to handle yourself. Grow up, get over it, and accept it. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. Peace.